Most people, and especially chefs, think their only problem with fitness is motivation, or discipline, or consistency. But if that were true, you wouldn't keep starting over again every few months with new goals. The real problem is simpler and a bit more uncomfortable, to be honest, because most people never actually choose a direction. So they gradually drift towards a future they didn't actually decide that they wanted. They set goals like, I want to lose 5 kilos, I want to get in shape. But those goals don't hold up when work's busy, your energy's terrible, and your sleep is in the bin, because they're not tied to anything that actually matters long term. So when life gets busy, the goal just collapses and motivation takes the blame. But there is a much better way to think about this. Instead of starting with a perfect vision of where you want to be, you start by looking at where you're currently heading if nothing changes. So in this video, I'll show you why typical fitness goals don't actually work, how your projected future can give you instant clarity on what you need to do, and then how to turn that into action without needing motivation or a crystal clear plan. See, the problem is most people don't actually know what they want. So they pick a goal that they think they should want, and it sounds great on the surface, but it doesn't actually hold up when it gets tested under pressure. Dan Koe has a completely different way of setting goals, and it's the opposite of what everyone does. You don't start with where you want to be. It's not about your dream future. You start with your projected future, because that is what is already being built by your current habits and your current actions. So here's why normal goal setting doesn't work for most people. If I ask someone in the street, what do you want? They're like, I don't know, I just want to feel better, I guess, a bit more confident. So they end up with these vague goals that don't have any emotional pull to them. And there's a million easy quitting points within that if it doesn't work out first time. And this is where people accidentally self-sabotage. Because they'll say something like, I want to lose 5 kilos, 10 kilos, 2 stone, whatever. Even though they don't really care about the 5 kilos or the 10 kilos or the specific number they chose. Usually they just want to feel confident again, have a bit more energy, like what they see in the mirror, and stop feeling like they're falling behind. But the goal they chose, that 5 or 10 kilos, doesn't really connect to that, at least not in a way that's immediately obvious. So it doesn't hold up when things get hard. So here's step 1 of this process. Look at your current lifestyle, your sleep, the foods you eat, the training or exercise that you do or potentially don't do, your energy levels, stress levels, and those convenience habits as well. Then imagine this, you lock all of that in, that's your exact routine every single week for the next 5 years, 10 years, and you ask, where does this realistically lead to? Not where you hope it leads, and not some worst case horror movie either, just the genuine, honest trajectory of where you will end up as a result of that. And I need to be clear about this. This isn't about beating yourself up. This isn't me trying to shame you, saying, look how terrible your habits are. It's just about being 100% honest with what the consequences are of your current actions. Because most people, when they do this properly, they realize they don't really like where they end up, or at least they're not as happy as they think they could be with where they end up. And that realization that they can't stay on this path forever is quite powerful. That's what we want, because it creates a bit of clarity without all these motivational speeches or Instagram gurus coming in and spouting the nonsense they spout. So you can do this for anything and everything. You could do it for life in general, but I'm not a life coach, I'm a fitness coach. So let's stay on topic. I want you to play out what you're currently doing with your fitness. Maybe it's getting to the gym once a week, once every couple of weeks, if at all. Stop and start waves of motivation, eating mostly convenience foods, not much protein, always feeling tired, sleep all over the place as well. So if that stays the same for another 5-10 years, do you have more energy or less? Does your weight gradually creep up and increase over time? Do you lose muscle? Do you get stuck? Do you stay stuck? Are you healthier or are you actually worse off? And here's the key question, right? If nothing changes, are you genuinely happy with where you end up? It's not a question of, is it fine right now? But would I be proud of this in 5 or 10 years? Because a lot of people are fine in the short term. They tell themselves they're going to tackle it at some point down the line. But let's play devil's advocate and say that that never happens. Long term, they're heading somewhere they don't want to be. Now here's step 2, and this is the breakthrough. Because once you know where you don't want to be, you literally just flip that on its head. Because psychologically, humans are more motivated by avoiding bad things and avoiding pain than by chasing good things. It's survival wiring, caveman brain stuff. You're more likely to move or do something if you can clearly see this path ends badly, or there's pain at the end of this path. So you just invert it. If your current path leads to less energy, you probably want to have more energy then. If it leads to you gaining weight and that increasing over time, chances are you want to lose weight or at least maintain where you are at the minute. If it leads to you feeling flat and sluggish, you want to feel more capable and confident. And if it leads to you losing muscle and getting weaker, chances are you probably want to gain some muscle and get stronger. Literally that simple. But that inversion, it gives you some direction. It's not a perfect vision and it still might seem a bit vague. You might be thinking, what's the difference from the start of I want to lose 5 kilos? Well, now you've got an actual reason because you've got this pain, this pathway that you want to avoid by going down this pathway instead. And now step 3, this part is not optional because if you do all this thinking and then change nothing, then what was the fucking point? So we want to translate the direction into actions. So if you want more energy, it usually comes from doing some form of exercise on a fairly regular basis, getting better sleep, and then eating better food as well. And the good news is those things stack into a nice feedback loop anyway. So if you exercise, you tend to sleep better. If you sleep better, you tend to make better choices with food. And if you make better food choices, you tend to have more energy and more energy to do exercise. And over time, that usually means you're going to build a bit of muscle depending on the kind of exercise you're doing. And as a chef, that strength has a bonus as well. It helps you massively at work. You're going to have better posture, more resilience, and less of that feeling that, oh, my body's falling apart or it's not the same as what it used to be a few years ago. And then your confidence goes up because you feel physically capable. So you can see how these things are all linked. And now it's just a case of knocking over that first domino and the rest will follow. Now, this is the part that people get wrong. The point of all this isn't so you know exactly what your best shape looks like. You don't need to be shredded or jacked or perfectly locked in. You just need a direction that has some actual weight behind it and then habits that move you away from the future that you don't want and towards the future that you do want. It's a bit like in martial arts. You sign up for karate lessons, you go in, it's your first time. You're obviously going to be a beginner, but the long-term direction is clear from the start. Black belt is the end goal. Now, most people aren't going to go all the way up to the black belt, and that's fine, but the direction exists regardless. So there's this natural progression even from day one when you just joined. There are checkpoints, there's the belts, there's milestones, and you don't have to decide straight away, yeah, I'm going to go for my black belt. So you might just start, show up for a few weeks, see some progress, and then fall in love with the process and decide, actually, yeah, I'm going to take this a bit more seriously. Fitness should be the same. When you have a direction that makes sense and a natural progression towards that with some checkpoints and milestones, and of course, there's going to be challenges and ups and downs along the way. But just like with karate, you don't need to be perfect from day one. You don't need to decide from day one. You just need to show up. And this is why so many fitness goals fail, because people just say, I want to lose a little bit of weight, but there's not really any direction to that. There's no meaning behind it. There's no real weight to that. There's no identity associated with that. So there's no reason that it's going to hold up under the pressure of life. So when progress slows down, which it inevitably will at some point, they assume, oh, this isn't working, and they just stop. But setbacks don't mean failure. They're just part of the path that you're on. Like if you join karate and after the 3rd week you get ill, so you're off for a week or 2, you don't quit it forever. You just wait until you're recovered and then you go back. Fitness should be exactly the same. If there's a minor setback, it doesn't mean you have to give up. It means you just recover for a couple of weeks and get back to it. So instead, right, have a rough end of the line in mind. Becoming an energized person, having a stronger body, absolute confidence in how you look and feel. But of course, expect some setbacks, detours, plateaus, difficult periods, because none of that means failure. It just means that you're doing something long enough for real life to show up. So I want you to remember this. You don't need massive motivation or a crystal clear vision of exactly where you want to be. You just need to know where you don't want to end up and a general direction away from that. That alone is going to give you clarity, build some real motivation, and keep you moving forward even when life does get messy. But let's not beat around the bush here. One of the reasons people stick with karate is because they know they're getting better. They can see it week by week, see their progression. Whereas with fitness, it's not always obvious. And if you don't think you're making progress, you can't see that, it's very difficult to keep at it and stick with it. So that's why I cover how to always stay motivated in this video here. And the one thing you need to never quit again. Go watch that now. I'll see you there.